Wondering how your mindset affects your life? How to bring more energy into your business and life? Millions of people around the world ask these same questions daily. You are in the right place. Learn practices that will help give your life the meaning and success you've been searching for. Welcome to the Charge Podcast, teaching you how to create habits around real goals every day. Practical life advice from those who made it. Here's your host, Gary Wilbers.
It is great when someone sends you an email about the book you just published. Here's what they said. This book strikes at the heart of using the gifts God has given you, not only to be the best version of yourself, but also in being a steward that helps others find their best selves. Thanks, Mark Register, for sharing that with our listeners. As you know, my book recently launched as an Amazon bestseller. Cultivate Positive Culture, 10 Actions of Faithful Living is now available for purchase. As a listener to the Charge Podcast, I would love for you to get a copy of the book. I hear they make great stocking stuffers. You can go where you purchase books, or better yet, go to my site and order the book directly from us, and I will give you free shipping and handling since you are helping us with sharing our message to others. Just go to cultivatepositiveculture.com to get your copy today. Thanks for supporting the Charge Podcast by purchasing the book directly from us. Remember, all the details about ordering is at chargepodcast.com, where Chris does a great job sharing all the notes about the upcoming podcast. Check them out. The countdown is on, and we are 1 month from ending the first year of this decade of the 20s. Wow. I don't think any of us imagined 2020 would be the year of the pandemic. I know it has been a challenging year, but as Chargers, we have to get up each day and realize our choices make us who we are each day. In this final month of 2020, we have guests that will help you get clarity in your life, start to make a nutrition plan that will impact your health, steps to building a legendary life, and what you need to do to build mental performance. If you are feeling frustrated and stressed out with your professional or personal life, I know in each of these podcasts, the strategies that each guest shares can propel you to live a charged life in 2021. Chargers, are you committed to finding how each day they can make their life better by their willingness to learn, grow, and become the person you were meant to be? I think this quote I coined in my new book, Cultivate Positive Culture. Give yourself permission to charge each day to become the person you were meant to be. You made a great choice in listening to this podcast. Remember, the podcast is named Charge after my mantra, create habits around real goals every day. Let's get recharged in this podcast to influence a positive culture today so you can make the choices to be positive each day. Are you ready? Welcome, Chargers. We're glad to have you back in this week with a great podcast. I love finding different guests with different viewpoints that you can learn from. And this week, we've done it again. Dolores Hirschmann is an internationally recognized strategist, coach, speaker, and founder of Masters in Clarity, a strategy and coaching company that helps clients clarify their message and implement virtual business growth systems. Dolores has been a remote employee and virtual business owner for over 20 years. As a former TEDx organizer, Dolores understands how to help experts, authors, consultants, coaches, doctors, and other service business owners position themselves as thought leaders in their field and scale their business. Dolores, it is great to have you on the Charge Podcast. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm already charged out. Thank you, Gary.
That's right. We got to charge those chargers up. I call them the Chargers because they listen to the podcast. And I think through our conversation, we're going to have that. And I thought as I read that and was kind of thinking about how we were going to structure this interview, I thought one of the things be very interesting is talking about some of that remote employee and virtual business owner, because you've been doing it for 20 years. Where a lot of people this last year, they've been thrown to that. And what some tips or strategies would you give them to help them?
Yes, and actually funny that we're recording today. I just wrote an article on this that should show up in my LinkedIn, but it's a couple. I'm going to give you three because I just wrote them. But number one is having a space that is your workspace. Like almost, I actually tell my kids, we used to have 2 dogs. We lost one in the last few months, but it got crowded there with 2 dogs. It wasn't planned. We just had them. And then I would say between my kids and my dogs that were all home because of the COVID, I said, oh my God, there's traffic on my way to my office. Because usually everybody leaves in the morning, like the house is mine. I go to my office, close the door. But now we've had kids. I have 4 children. So you want to have a space that you almost pretend that you get up, you do your routine, you get dressed, and you go to work. Maybe you don't get in your car, but you actually go to work. Number 2, again, it's in the same fashion of what would happen in a work environment is meet your colleagues and partners and team members, whoever you work with. Find a way that you're able to have the water cooler moment, because you need that kind of non-structured interaction. And it's important to make that happen, because you need it for your, not just communication and connection, but for your own mental well-being. And third, just be kind to yourself. Make sure that you respect your workday, that you have achievable goals on a daily basis. Don't sit at your desk and do a 50-thing to-do list, because it's not going to happen, and you're going to end up the day, either you don't end up the day, meaning you work, after dinner, during dinner,
all the time.
or you finish your day with a feeling of unfulfillment and not having accomplished enough. So it's really more about that kind of internal discipline to create that special space for work and then for fun.
Well, that is some great suggestions, because I think people are going through that now, and some people have been struggling with it. And how can they really make it themselves? Plus, I think what we're going to see come out of this, is more people and businesses that were never allow remote workers are going to allow that opportunity. And it may be a hybrid, or it may be a complete remote workers that's available to them. Dolores, I forgot to ask. I love asking every guest. Normally I do it when I first start, but I wanted to really talk about the remote workers and got excited about that. I have a mantra called CHARGE, create habits around real goals every day. What habits do you think has led to success in your life?
I would say, I honestly think that I think unconsciously I created that rhythm in my daily life for working remotely. And I think that rhythm has served me really, really well. And those are habits that I almost don't even think, it's a good habit in the sense that it's so integrated that I don't even have to think about it. But I look at my office, I don't think I come in my office on Saturdays and Sundays. And my phone leaves downstairs in my office. So I really have created my office a very productive place. And anything outside of my office, my mind is not in work. And that has served me really well to find a good work-life balance.
Great. Thank you for sharing that. Well, we've got so many different things to talk about, but I think I want to start with kind of how you became that chief clarity officer. Because number one, clarity, everyone needs that, and especially in business. And you've launched your business really about mastering that clarity. So I'm curious about, first, let's go all the way back. And what is clarity to you, and why is it so important?
Yeah, first of all, why did I become this? Because I tried everything else, and no, I'm kidding. I think so. I'm going to try to make it short, but I have a background in business. My accent is from Argentina. That's where I was born and raised. That's where I went to university. I studied business there. And when I came here, it was a love story. It is a love story. I met my husband in Argentina. He's here. We're still married. We have 4 children. But as I became a mom and I started managing my professional life as a mother, I went in different directions, mostly around the putting together ideas into creative ventures that were business. And then at 38, I found myself in a place of deep confusion, of deep not sure what am I supposed to do, I think many of us suffer of this, of looking at a resume and say, what did I actually do? Because I've done so many different things. I'm a hodgepodge of things. And so that moment of darkness led me to go back to school. I started coaching. And as in the process of my own personal self-exploration, I started to ask myself, and also the people in my world, from my mom and my siblings to past colleagues and friends, I started asking them, what is the one thing you can always count on me? What is the one thing that you would come to me for, that I would do for free all day long? And they all answered, well, you help me sort things out, from a closet organizer to the thought organizer. Like I always was that person that would, listen to someone and help them think things through. And it also came up, the one word that resonated with me as a description of what I'm attracted to and what I am about was the word clarity. I actually have it here. This actually, I wrote it in like 2012 or 13 when I was doing the coaching. And it was almost 6 years later when I was struggling with my one thing. And I think there's a book on this, but, thought leaders, service entrepreneurs, my husband said, you can't swing a cat without hitting one, right? There's many of us, and that's a good thing because the world needs a lot of help. So how do you stand out? And so when I became a coach, I felt for 3 years that I had a elephant foot pressing on my chest, that I had a message stuck in my throat. These were physical feelings, and that I just was one more coach. But who was I really? How did I stand out? How am I different? And so in that process and that challenging moment, again, of more confusion, I realized that the one thing I have to offer is clarity and the capacity to lead people to clarity. And so it wasn't like I found the word and, oh, there you are, I'm a chief clarity officer. It took me a process to integrate it and accept that the one thing I could do was the most obvious thing. And that if I had the courage to wrap my business and my messaging and my positioning around this one thing, which is frameworks for clarity, that then I could gain some traction. And that's what happened. And that's what I do for people, of course.
Sure. So share with me why you think for people clarity is so important. We know for you it is, but why is it so important for them to gain that clarity? And then I'll kind of put a two-part behind it. Let's talk about the individual first, but then let's talk about why it's so important in the business that they have clarity.
Yeah. So one of the things that entrepreneurs struggle with, and I've seen it men and women, these are not a gender thing, is self-doubt. And this, you would think an entrepreneur is very courageous and a high risk taker. And that's not necessarily true. That's not necessarily true for many of us. I would say I would call myself risk cautious. And many of us are risk averse. And so all of us want that for someone to tell us, okay, give me that one idea or that one positioning or that one product that it's just going to make it. And there's no such thing. And you know that, and I know that it's about consistency and commitment over the one idea that will make it. I believe that while ideas are important, ideas are plenty. It's the proper execution of ideas that will gain you traction. So people are looking for that magic wand that says, this is the one, now you're clear on what you're doing, go do it. And so they hold back because they're not so clear. They're not so sure. And that game of self-doubt stops us from taking action, consistent action. And so part one and part two of your question, clarity gives individuals a feeling of safety and a feeling of direction that they need to move forward. And that clarity and that courage combined gives people traction. Let me give you a metaphor. What would happen if you were to drive at night, pitch dark, no headlights?
Can't see.
Impossible. But all of us drive at night at 60 miles per hour or more with just 10 feet, 5 feet, I don't know what's the exact distance of the headlights of our car. And we go fast, trusting that every second that we move forward, the next little bit of clarity or light will reveal, then we'll keep on driving. We trust that there's a road. And so what I do with my clients is help them find that balance of clarity and uncertainty that is safe enough for them to move forward. I help them gain headlights for their businesses and trust that the next layer of clarity will be revealed.
Well, I knew I was going to love this conversation because I love talking about clarity and goals. And I've actually put a quote together, clarity opens the window of opportunity. And it really does. And then I have had another one with goals, having your headlights on, allows them to happen. I'm kind of paraphrasing it, but goals with your headlights on, where you're going. And that becomes the real key with clarity. It allows us, like you said, that certainty of being able to move forward. And I think that's the real key that we've got to look at. And I think some of this comes into what people find is just like you said, what you found. You've kind of found your life's purpose now.
Yes.
And you can see it we're on video. Most of you are going to be listening to this via just seeing audio, but you can see Dolores just come to life as she's talking about this. And she was there before, but you can just see the energy that she has with it. And I hope you're hearing that through the video to the audio, and I'm sure you are. So with that life purpose, what do you think there is the thing that really allows people to plug in and make that big difference?
Yes. And that is this, I love this, where you're taking this conversation, Gary, because the truth is, in my business, what I combine is my skills and background as a coach with my know-how as a strategist and as a business owner. And I believe that there's many ways for us to run our business. There's no one formula. And I always say, when you're exploring what is the right angle, find that you would do for free all day long and spend 80% of your working time doing just that. And so doing for free all day long, when you find that flow is because you found your path, you find your purpose, you found that thing that makes you come alive, as you saw when I was explaining clarity. And it's a beautiful thing to watch and to witness, because the moment you yourself as an entrepreneur are able to get into that current, that path, that lane of honoring your purpose on a daily basis, and as a team leader, because some of us have teams, help your team find that for themselves as well. Now you're running a business where nobody's actually working, but there's magic happening.
Right. Yeah. And I think that becomes the real key as they start to see the real benefits for them and what they see in that business and how they can move forward. And the key is most entrepreneurs, one of their challenges, of course, they don't do that. They want it for themselves, but they don't think about their teams. But they want their teams to always perform at a high performing level. And those two don't go together. So, and we understand there's certain things you have to do, even as business owners, that you don't like. But the thing is, you find people that's energizes by that, like reports, doing financial reporting is not in my wheelhouse, but my wife loves that and does a great job with it. So you find those passions for each other to really be able to move forward with it. I think one of the things that people always think, though, is that sounds good, but that doesn't work for me. And I know you can't give a name, Dolores, but can you share an example of someone that you've coached and kind of really brought them to the point of seeing the different side of what clarity will do for them and finding that purpose?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And so let me talk about one of my clients who has been with me for a few years. And she's a solopreneur, mom, juggling 100 hats. And in the work that we've been doing together, we've been trying to, again, gain that clarity of where is it that what does she love to do? What is the thing that comes so easy to her? And in the last couple of years, what we've been doing is we have been chipping away of all the other tasks and duties that she was performing in her business, and we've replacing them with technology. We've replacing it with systems, and we've replacing it with people working the systems and technology. And it doesn't happen overnight by no means, but let me give you an example. Through the work that we've been doing when COVID happened, and as all of us, her business went upside down and she had to pivot and reinvent, she was able to do so in 2 weeks without missing a beat or missing any of her corporate clients, because she was prone for flexibility, because she had systems, she had clarity on what she could where she could add value, and she was really clear how her team added value.
Yeah, and I think one of them that you hit on there that I'd like to really touch on is systems, because I think that's our challenge in small business. That is our greatest challenge in small businesses. We don't have the systems. We always think we're too busy to build the systems, or we just don't enjoy that part of it. And that's what slows our business down and really restricts growth. Would you agree with that? Or what's your...
So let me give you an example. So one of the things I'm most proud of in the last 9-10 months, 2019, 2020, is that I was able to sold one part of my business. And as a service entrepreneur, you think, or service business owner, you think you can't, like, if you're the face and you're the owner, like, you can't sell yourself, like, unless you go get a full-time job, which I didn't. And so what I actually sold, once I reflected on really what was it that made this possible, was that I had created a business unit, a service, a specific product in my business that was perfectly aligned with a much bigger business and something they had been wanting to do for years. They just hadn't had the energy, the focus, whatever. And so they saw my service as a perfect opportunity to offer that to their community without having to create the whole thing. And 90% of that was simply systems and processes for delivering a result. Yes. And so what I sold was my systems, which was a Google Doc, if you want, that had a recipe. Really what a system is, Gary, is a recipe. And if you're a baker and you made a great cake and you sold it, and the next year the person says, that is my favorite birthday cake, I want to have it every year. If you don't have a recipe, you might know it by heart, but you kind of have to check in on that. You won't be able to replicate that experience of the cake for the client the next year. That's exactly what a system does for your business. It allows you, even if you're the only one operating, to never miss a step in delivering that experience for the clients. And as you grow and you delegate, you can delegate like that, because all you have to do is onboard a team member, say, this is what I want you to do, and here's a recipe, go bake that cake. And you can taste the cake, make sure it's good from time to time, quality control, but the kitchen is running on its own.
Right. Yeah, that's so true. And it's the processes, there's multiple books out there. And for small business owners, I just think that's a big area of emphasis that they've really got to look at. But as I think through this, and as I think people are listening, I think we have that person that has, well, yeah, that sounds good, but, that but always gets in the way of the conversation. So when we have that person that is doubting that, they hear it for someone else, what would be some of the steps that you would really tell them that they have to look for in their business to really define that clarity? Because for some, they're stuck in the weeds. They're stuck in the minutia of the everyday, and they can't see that bigger picture of where they could be at this time. How can they get that clarity to move forward?
Yeah. So if I were having that person, and I have that person sitting in front of me, your listeners, right? I'm in conversation with your listeners, even though they can't respond, but
yes,
we are having a conversation. And so I would ask you, listener, grab a piece of paper, grab a pen, and write this question. What would you do for free all day long? So just ask, what would I do for free all day long? And go ahead and answer. Give yourself some time. Make a list. Is it gardening? Is it cooking? Is it talking with people? Is it partying? I don't care what it is. So go make that list. And then once you do that list, go find those elements in that list that are kind of aligned with your work or somehow aligned. And I'm going to give you an example in just a second. And I would say, go do that for free for about a month. and watch it transform your business. So I did this exercise for myself in 2014. I had launched my coaching business. I was doing well, mostly doing life and executive coaching, but there was something missing and I didn't know what. I couldn't pinpoint. Like, I wasn't having traction marketing wise and business growth wise, but I also wasn't happy. I was like, yeah, this is cool. This is what I dreamt of. You know, when you fulfill your dream and you get there, it's like, oh, wait, well, it doesn't feel like I was hoping it would be. And so I asked myself, what would I do for free all day long? And the answer to that question for me was I would hang out with people with really big ideas. And so it's like, And so I had been part of a TEDx before, and synchronicity has its own way and the universe has its own way, that all of a sudden I got a call one day and someone said, hey, I know you've organized a TEDx before. I know you have the license for it. Me and my partner would love to help you if you think of doing it again, blah, blah, blah. Make the story short, I decided to lead a new TEDx here in town, and I did so for 3 years. So what would volunteering, because there's no money involved, for a TEDx would help me do? It would help me hang out with people with big ideas.
Yep.
And so I did that for 3 years, and it completely transformed my business, because that's exactly when I made this little word that I had found a few years before. I started working with that word, clarity, and bringing it into the speakers that I was putting on my stage and helping them clarify their message. I didn't know I could do that. And they were not paying me. So they were willing to play. I was willing to play, and I was able to explore. And in that path of volunteering my time for that project, I found a strength, a focus, and a flow that I didn't even know I had, because I had never put two and two together. And so if you are in a business that you wake up and you're okay, you know, you're proud of yourself for being an entrepreneur, but something's missing, go find something to volunteer your time with and watch yourself come alive.
Yeah. And I love the suggestion of writing down, what would you do for free all day long? You know, and what you're giving them is the space and time to be able to explore. And in the world, we don't give ourselves enough space and time to truly explore, to be able to see what's truly in our heart. What do we want to move forward? And when you give yourself, you're able to make that happen. Well, you've been on quite a journey, and I think I'll kind of, as we come up to the recharge round, ask you this one last question is, what's the one thing that's really been unexpected in your journey as you're going through this Masters in Clarity, and what you've learned as a business owner, and the kind of the steps that you've taken along the way? What would be an unexpected, something that was unexpected?
So in 2016, again, I'm married, I'm a mother of 4. I was always the second breadwinner in my home, and it was a great way for me to explore and expand at my own pace. Now, in 2016, my husband lost his job, which was very unexpected because it's a family business, a long story. And all of a sudden, January 1st, 2017, I woke up with the realization that I was the only income in the house. And that challenged me as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, as a woman, and as a mom. It kicked all of my beliefs down the toilet. Like my husband one day said, but you always wanted to grow your business. You always wanted more time. And my reaction was, but I didn't, I never meant it. But because he said, I'll cover you. Like I'll help with the house, with the kids, you go do your thing. And which is lovely to hear, right? But no, I didn't have the courage. And what I learned is I learned how much of a community a business owner has with their own clients, and how important that is, because I literally would coach my clients. They will ask me at the end of the call, oh, so how's it going? I know, your husband, and I would start crying, and they would like virtually hug me, and I would feel better, and then we'd go to the next client and do it all over again. So they were like my sisters and my brothers and my hogs as I was their coach. And I also understood and learned the capacity that we have, entrepreneurs, in really committing to creating our future and reality. I had two paths that I was entertaining in my head. It was the doom or the great path. The doom path, the great path. Doom path was literally, I'm not kidding, we were going to be living under a bridge, homeless with 4 children and a dog. That was my extreme thought, and we go there, right? And the other one was like we were thriving and everyone was fine and whatever. And I got to a point is like, okay, my crying and putting my covers over my head will absolutely guarantee this path. No doubt. No lack of clarity here. If I stay small, if I stay hidden, and if I stay playing the role of a victim, this path is actually guaranteed. So what is possible if I shift a little bit from that role? And that's where I started to play, and oh my God, it's been a great ride.
Yeah. Well, and I think the part that people can take is we all feel that. So people look at people that have made it, but before you start it, you had those, and we all have that. And it's really about that courage to move forward, being willing to do it. And that becomes the real key, because I know some of our chargers, somebody's listening today, and they have a plan, an ideal that they would really like to do, but they have not moved forward yet with it. Because why? Thinking, oh, what if the other side of it? There's 2 sides of the scale, but you've got to decide if you really want to make it happen. And the best line I've always heard is, you don't want to sit there on your 80th birthday and say, what if,
Yeah. And the beauty of this, Gary, is that while you might not have a lot of clarity in the other path, the path of not taking action, the future of not taking action is actually pretty clear. Yeah. So wherever you feel, whatever you have around you, whatever you're experiencing today, if you don't take action, I guarantee you're going to feel the same thing tomorrow and in 10 years. Yeah. So if you're okay with that, by all means, please don't take action.
Yeah. Good advice. Well, great conversation. I think we could go on for hours, but we better go to the recharge round. Otherwise, they get to be too long of podcast. And I think people have sometimes when they get too long, then they don't listen to them. And we want them to hear this message. Well, in the recharge round, I'm going to ask you 6 kind of quick-fired questions and get your feedback. Share with me how you believe your mindset affects your daily living.
Whether I believe I'm a victim or a victor, I will behave that way. So I get to choose.
Yeah, great. What do you do daily to bring energy in your life? They can hear it through our podcast that we're both kind of energized bunnies, but what do you do to kind of bring that energy to your life?
I work out and I love working out, but I also love connecting with people. What we're doing right now is how I energize myself, is meeting new people. This I would do for free all day long. I do for free all day long.
That's right. And she's sharing great information with us for free too. So we're glad you decided to do that. How about the number one connection or relationship that's made the biggest impact on your life?
Okay. I'm going to be kind of coachy on this one. Relationship and connection with myself.
That I want people to hear that, because if you have that relationship with yourself and you understand yourself and you're comfortable with that, great things can happen.
Don't ever break up with yourself, because that's a bad deal.
Dolores, I've not had that answer over 120 some podcasts that I've done. And I can tell you that is so true, and the belief that's there. So I hope the audience, I hope you really hear that and take that in consideration for yourself. What do you need to do for yourself today? Don't wait and say tomorrow. What do you need to do for yourself today? What advice has influenced you the most in your life?
Oh, so many. I would say, I think my first coach in this business, once I was a coach and I launched my service business, I worked with a woman named Fabienne Fredrickson, and she was really great. And she was, more than advice, she saw the potential in me before I did. And she just built me up with courage. There were a lot of tears involved, a lot of tears. But she was the one to say, you got it, girl.
Yeah, great. How about your favorite book, and share why you love it?
Yeah, favorite book, Viktor Frankl, Austrian psychologist, Man's Search for Meaning. He looked for clarifying and honoring your purpose independent on the context. So I always say to my clients, because well, I have this big purpose. When I divorce my spouse or change my job, I will honor my purpose. I said, I don't think so. Because if Viktor Frankl could honor his purpose in a concentration camp, you can find a way to honor your purpose in the next minute, whatever's happening in your life. No excuse.
And we'll have the notes. If you haven't heard of that one or you have not read that book, that's a must read. That's not a want to read. That's a must read, I will tell you. What legacy do you want to leave the world, Dolores?
Clarity. I want to leave the world the frameworks to get headlights in some ways. I want to leave the world clarity frameworks for people to have something to hold on to as they take forward action towards the impacts they are called to realize in the world.
Well, you definitely help some of our chargers kind of really think about their frameworks that they need to have to really get their clarity. And I think the thing that I would tell them is go back to that question she asked you to do. What would I do free all day long? And give yourself time and space to think about it. And if you do that, you're going to find some of that clarity that you want in your life. And then you've got to move forward, take action on it. Dolores, been a great conversation. Would you share with them how they could reach out to you and connect with you? And if you've got a website, any information that you'd like to share?
Absolutely. Visit us at mastersinclarity.com. There's a little button that says start here. You can hop on a clarity call with us.
Okay. And I think she also has that if you want to get the TED way to raise visibility and get more clients ebook, we'll have that in the Charge podcast show notes too. So she's made that available to our clients. So we will have that information where you can access that information, and make sure you go out and check out her website and check out that ebook. I think you'll find some valuable information there. And Dolores, I just want to say thank you again. It has been a great conversation.
Thank you so much for having me, Gary.
Chargers, if you're not charged up now, I don't know. We're going to have to take your pulse and say it's running too slow, because I know Dolores and I had a great conversation, and really the conversation was for you. What do you want that clarity to be in your life? Give yourself that time and space and decide to find that out, and then take action on it and move yourself forward. That's what creates happiness. It's not about being happy. It's about creating the happiness and giving yourself that space of what you want in life. Make it a great day, and we'll see you back here next week. Here's a short description of the book, Cultivate Positive Culture. Lloyd, a truck driver from Forward Trucking, Inc., has a random encounter with death while making his way back home. Lloyd, who is short on faith and options, finds himself in the largest downward spiral of his life. He meets an unexpected traveler who sees something in him that Lloyd couldn't find on his own. Together, through a new sense of faith and reason, Lloyd discovers his life's calling. I'm so excited to launch this book, and I appreciate your help. Remember, get your copy today at cultivatepositiveculture.com. Thanks for supporting the book.
This podcast has ended, but your life doesn't just stop. To continue your inspiring journey, head over to chargepodcast.com and access all the tools and resources mentioned on today's show. If you enjoyed this episode, consider sharing with somebody who may also benefit from the advice provided. That's chargepodcast.com. Until next time, charge in business and life.